We are recording. So listen, y'all, this is the Value Podcast, where valuable people attract people of value. This particular season is called Jamel, I Have Questions. And I invite my guest on and they ask me 2, 3, 4 questions centered around relationships. Today, I have CEO Mrs Matty. First of all, you got CEO at the front of your name. I want you to just tell people who you are because I don't want to mess it up.
Okay, so my name is Erica. However, I joined forces with my husband of now, 5 years. And that's when I became CEO. I walked into the relationship with, someone who is a serial entrepreneur, and I had to adapt the skills. So now I go by CEO Mrs Matty. Just to kind of, oftentimes with me being the operations manager of all of our businesses, when people contact me, they're like, hey, I'm looking for Miss Matty, or I'm looking for Matty's wife, or something like that. So I just said, okay, this is CEO Miss Matty. Here I am. I'll help you out with whatever it is that you need, whatever service, whatever, products you need from us. I'm your girl.
Nice. So, how long you been married?
5 years.
5 years. 5 years going on 50.
5 years going on forever.
Forever, yeah, forever until you cease to exist.
That's right.
So we're gonna go right in here, man. This is where it gets very interesting. Yeah. Jamel, I have questions. So what you got for me, Mrs.
I do. I have
CEO.
Questions. Yes. All right. So there's so much talk going on the internet as far as relationship advice, which to me is like, okay, you're going to go to Instagram to know what to do in your relationship based on a bunch of people who may or may not be credible. So one question that I've seen often that sparked my interest and that I would love to know your perspective on is, should the rent be split?
Should the rent be split?
Absolutely. That's my question for you, Mr. Jamel. One of many.
Okay, the rent or the mortgage, however people want to say it.
Correct.
Here's the word that I always use when it comes to decisions. Any decision in any relationship, the word is agreement. And before that word agreement is the word mutual, a mutual agreement where both parties are agreeing on this term. So in terms of the rent, should somebody pay half on the rent? If that couple has that type of understanding, because some people don't. Some men and some women will just dictate it, especially we people will say, well, no, you paying half the rent and that's what you're going to be doing. Now, if you're coming from a dictatorship, then I'm telling you right now, because that's not a mutual agreement, that's being forced. And anything that's forced, eventually that's a form of manipulation. Mm-hmm. And then eventually that's going to crash. That's manipulative.
But that's the tone that men have when they're in the comments, when they're responding, when they're making videos about it. It's like, oh, I don't want, just some leech. Like, she better be able to pay half the rent. She's using half the utilities or half the house. So she should come with her half, So it doesn't necessarily sound like there is any room for negotiation. It sounds like this is a standard that if you're a real woman, you should understand this already, or it shouldn't have to be explained. So that's why I'm curious to know. And I do appreciate your breakdown of this topic.
No, I believe, here's the thing, even when you say like men like that, and I've seen it on social media, and I'm not here to knock all men, because there's some amazing men out there that think how I think. Right. And once again, that mutual agreement, any man that's coming across like that, really, that's a form of dictatorship. It's a form of pride. It's a form of control, really. Mm-hmm. If that woman is not in agreement with doing half, then why would you just put that load on her? Now, here's the thing. Of course, I believe when you have a relationship and you guys have a understanding and communication, that can come across like, hey, babe, if I'm gonna pay this, what do you think about paying this? Mm-hmm. That's different from saying that you have to do it and you have to come in here with that. So if you do that, then no, I like the part of just communicating it. And if you communicate it, you got some women that it depends on how you deliver the message. Some women just be willing to do it. Like, you know what? They'll come to you and be like, babe, you know what? I see you working hard. Here's what I'm going to do. And now the guy has the option to be like, nah, babe, I got it. Or to be like, you know what, babe, thank you for that.
Right.
Let me say this. When I was married, my wife and I had that type of understanding. Mm-hmm. It was like, I would be covering the rent and she would be covering the car note
Yeah,
and other
the
little
small
stuff.
stuff.
And it's not like because here's the thing. If you're girlfriend and boyfriend, that's different. Because once you mix that money together, that's a whole nother type of challenge right there. Now, when you're talking about marriage, once again, what's mine is yours. It's ours. So in terms of, and when I was married, my wife and I, we had everything was ours. Now, of course, we allocated funds for each of us to do certain things. But at
Right.
the end of the day, it was like, okay, this is going to go towards rent. This is going to go towards that. I would cover the rent. She would cover the cars. But we had a mutual agreement. It wasn't like I was like, yo, you paying the cars and you better make sure you got that money on the first. No.
Right. And I think that's what happens is, okay, so when I asked a woman this question, she said she wants to pay the utilities and be able to save most of her money.
Okay.
And so then that made me think, well, what if he wants to save, money? How does that work with, if he's trying to save for a bigger goal or whatever, how do you allow for, him to have that same kind of freedom or the same liberty, while you have that liberty? If you have that liberty 100% of the time, when does he ever get the chance to stack or save, or, you know what I mean? So that, I think that's another reason why men kind of shy away from this setup, because it sounds like it only benefits the woman.
Yeah. See, I'm the type of guy, like, it's like, if it depends on who's in that financial position, because you have it
Right.
now. We live in a society now where some
Women
women
winning.
are making more money than men, and it's not a
Right.
knock. You know what I mean? If it's a man in that position, really remove your pride and humble yourself. Really, it's not about, and especially if they have, once again, mutual agreement. If I know that my significant other is making more income than me, and she's like, babe, you could just pay the utilities and save up your money for this goal that you're trying to reach, boom. If it's vice versa and I'm in a better financial position, I would just love to do it. I'd be obliged to be like, babe, I'm gonna cover all of this. If you just want to cover the internet and the phone, cool. And then just keep all your money. Just do whatever you want to do with it. Like,
Now I will share my setup just for
okay.
perspective. Um, my husband takes care of everything 100%.
And that's great.
So yeah, so that makes me unrelatable in some of these topics, where women feel like, oh, that is just rare. Like, that's never going to happen to me. That's never going to be the case or the scenario. But this was nothing I expected or plotted, or just, it was a standard for me. I actually didn't even prepare for that. So it was actually humbling for me to not, as a woman, we're like, we want to take care of the bills and make everything in order for the house. And okay, if you go bring in the money, I'm going to be the one delegating or, better with the money and things like that. But actually, in my case, my husband was very organized when it came to the finances and things like that. So it just made it easy. And I do like the fact that you said mutual agreement, because those are things that we did have to sit down and talk about. And I had to kind of, alter my perspective a little bit to be submissive in that moment, which was
Hmm.
different for me, way different for me. So I love
And
it.
you definitely have to have once again, a man that's of understanding when
Right.
when you guys sit down to have that agreement. Because some women don't want that position. Some women don't want that.
Right.
And a man has to be okay with that. We can't, because I know we come like tradition is, the man take care of the woman, you bring home the bacon, you do. Now we live in a different society. Women are bringing home bacon too. Women bringing home some good turkey bacon
Yeah.
or whatever type of bacon you like. You know what I mean? But the
That's
thing
right.
is that you have to be in agreement. If that woman says, you know what, I don't want to do that. I want to help you, and she keeps being persistent, then let her help. Because one thing
Right.
for sure, if you don't, you could be hindering a blessing or hindering something that's there to benefit your relationship. So I
And,
wouldn't
and
put a cap
sometimes
on it.
sometimes it just hinders the growth of a person. A lot of
It
us,
does.
part of our identity is our career, and what we're doing, we find it as our purpose. So having that ability and that freedom or liberty to go out and work a little bit and have that responsibility does allow for us to keep our identity. So it's absolutely important.
Yeah. And letting the women let her live her dreams,
Right.
and vice versa. Like, she may be in a position where she's trying to start a business or something, and the guy's he's in a position where he can just cover everything. And it may not be his thing. It may not even be like he's the wealthiest guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just that if he's been on his own and he's been covering everything, and then you come into his life, he could probably be like, no, just do what you're doing, build your business. I've been covering all this already.
Yeah.
You know,
Rent gotta get paid anyway. Bills
got to get paid anyway. Push come to shove, no matter what happened, I might fall off. We're gonna get this rent paid.
Awesome. All right, I'm ready for my next question. Now, this one is very spicy. Okay.
Spicy.
It is very spicy.
Let's go.
Are you ready? Okay. Jamel, in the case of a breakup, do you take back expensive gifts?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Because here's the thing. I mean, once again, now this is dealing with the person's perspective on things or material items or cash, whatever the case may be, whatever that object is. I'm not attached to stuff. I have a different viewpoint when it comes to that. My dad sat me down on the porch when I was about, I think I was like 13 or 14 in New York. And we were sitting on this project stoop, and he said, Jamel, look at all that stuff. Look at these cars, look at these buildings and everything. He said, if you just sat that Mercedes Benz over there in that empty field and just let it sit there, eventually it'll just turn to dust and go back to the dirt. And he said, everything out here is fancy dust. And when he said that, that stuck with me forever. So I look at everything like fancy dust. So if I give a woman a gift, a high-end gift, whatever that gift is, and we break up, I'm not coming back for that. Mm-hmm. You can have that. Because here's the thing, I gave it out of love. I gave it out of a heart of not Indian giving, or something happens, you give me that back. And once again, it's fancy dust. I can't.
Right.
Everything we're looking at right now, this glass I'm holding, it came from the dirt. You know what I mean? I'm not attached to it. And I had a situation like that. There was a woman, you know what I mean? And I gave her a ring, and the situation didn't go as planned. She gave me the option to take the ring. I was gonna leave it with her, like, yo, you can have it. But she didn't want the ring. So I took the ring back. Now I didn't take it because it was like, oh, give me my ring back. She gave me the option. She didn't want it, so I took the ring back. So that was a high-end item right there.
Right. Yeah, I think that question kind of stemmed from, watching the celebrities and their lifestyles, and they buy each other cars often, and these, purses that are well over 10, 20 grand. And then, a couple months they break up. And so people are curious to know what happens with these gifts that were, displayed online, that you publicly gave this person. What happens with these gifts? Do you take them back, or, do you let that person move on with it? And if it's a car, that person has their next girlfriend or boyfriend enjoying the luxury that you provided. And so
it's based on the intentions behind the giving.
Right.
What are your intentions behind the giving? If I give you this car, whether it's a Bentley or it's a Honda, if I give you this house or this apartment, what are my intentions behind it? Is it to hold something over your head to say, look what I gave you, so when we do break up, I'm like, give me my Bentley back?
Right. Meaning it's conditional. And I think that's the perspective of a lot of people that maybe they don't realize, is that they live life and enter relationships with conditions. And sometimes it's not brought up, or sometimes it's not revealed until something is invested, like money and time and things like that. Then a person realizes, oh, I'm conditional, right? This love is not just free. It comes with a price, and it comes with terms and conditions. And when you really analyze that before entering a marriage, you won't make the mistake of buying something with hopes of it coming back to you if it doesn't work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two, I feel like if you are that person, that maybe you shouldn't go out and buy expensive gifts for people, because it just creates unnecessary drama. It's not the right mindset when you're giving someone something. Literally, whatever I give someone, I don't expect it. I don't expect anything in return, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when people come to me, and I always post about this on my Instagram, when people come to me for a loan, right? They want to borrow some money. Doesn't really matter the amount, but what I'll do is I'll let them know, hey, I really don't honor a borrowing system, but I can provide you an option to do work for me. So if you need $200, I need to go look at my schedule, look at my tasks and duties, and find something that I'm willing to pay $200 for someone else to do.
Right.
And
That's good.
that's the way that I kind of counter that, because I don't like the idea of giving someone something and waiting for it to come back to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's my perspective on that. But yeah, gifts, that's when you give it to someone, you're supposed to, it's a gift. That's the point of a gift.
It's a gift, isn't it? Once again, it's the intention behind your giving.
Right.
The intention behind your giving it. Do you have ulterior motives?
So dope. All right, are you ready for the next question?
Yes, I am. I feel like you're building up to this grand avalanche. And
No. Okay. Put these in order of priority.
Uh-oh.
Mom, wife or girlfriend, daughter. And also elaborate, please.
Wife, mom, daughter. That's the order.
That's the order. Okay.
That's
Please
the order.
elaborate.
For those who may believe in biblical terms, some people may not, but the principles still apply.
It does. Yeah.
The two shall become one. Now you have your own family. My mom's not coming before my wife. Now I know this is hard for a lot of men. It's going to be hard for a lot of women, because that's my mama. That's my mama. But that's your wife. That's your wife. You guys have become one. You haven't become one with your mom. Yes, I still respect my mom and I hold her to high esteem. Now, once again, I could speak on this. I was married 11 years. When I was with my wife came before my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had that understanding, especially from being around wise mentors, not just people that were saying, put your wife before your mom. These were wise men who've been married 30, 40, 50 years. Great marriages. And they said, listen, man, your wife comes before your mom. And then when I started making that adjustment, not saying like, if my mom called me, it was something serious, my wife wouldn't let me, go handle my business with my mom.
Right.
But I had to come to an understanding that she's coming before my mom. And when I did that, at one point, it caused friction.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Not in the marriage. No, not in the marriage, but my mom, hold on, what you mean you can't come to the thing? I'm like, my wife, she got this plans she wants to go over here and that's where we're going. So it almost became like I was putting her above my mom. In actuality, I was, but not in that type of manner. Because I didn't come across like that. Like, no, I'm not coming because I'm going with my wife. No, it was like, hey, my wife, we got this planned already. It was before you called me. This is what's happening. And I think, and here's the thing, and for women and for men, that could be challenging. And I believe I found it sometimes with a lot of women, because that's mama. You know what I mean? It's like your husband. Like, what I'm gonna do? I gotta choose my mom, and that can cause friction inside of the relationship, whether it's a girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband. It can cause friction. So even if it's a girlfriend,
right.
I'm gonna put my girl before my mom.
So mom had a little bit of a feeling about that. She wasn't really rocking
just a little bit, but I mean, we came to an understanding, especially I'm talking about in terms of wife wise, we came to an understanding, because once again, now I have a family. Even if it was just me and my wife without a child, that's a family. That's a new branch from our immediate family. It's a new branch. So they got to respect that. Yeah. And here's the thing, my wife and I had a mutual agreement. We had an understanding. That's how we move it. Couples really need to have that type of conversation and communication, because if not, we can't have that conversation in the fire, because then it becomes very heated. Now, in terms of the child, right? I remember years ago, God shared something with me, because I was watching some of my friends, and they had, when my wife and I first got married, it was a lot of like young couples, people having babies, and it was amazing. I used to sit back and observe sometimes, like how the wives would respond to some of the husbands with the baby, like, I can't do that right now, I got the baby. Or the husband went, I got the baby. And I used to watch and go, And one time in one of those moments, God was like, Jamel, they're married with children. It's different from being married. You're just married. There's two people, no kids. We navigate. We loving on each other. We ain't got nobody in the mix. Now you have a child. Now you're married with children. And so what we have the tendency to do is we'll put the child before the wife, or the child before the husband. And that's not necessarily, once again, that wife, my wife at that time, and when I get married again is coming before the child.
And so
Now,
what does that look like?
Here's what it looks like. I'm not saying, let's say you got an infant, right?
Right.
You got an infant. Now, I like the picture of an infant because the infant looks so innocent,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, it's the baby. But
Right.
especially if the baby's being held right at that moment, it's like, what you can't really say nothing. It's the baby, it's the infant. How dare you say you want my time? You see, I got the baby. I'm breastfeeding or whatever your case. The guy burping. And I'm not saying you neglect the baby. The baby has to eat. Obviously, we ain't gonna say, babe, I want to go, be romantic with you. Put the baby down. No, the baby has to eat. Once again, the agreement. So here's the thing, though. If it's the infant, because most people will say, well, it's the baby. You can't put the wife before this little child. Yes, you can. Because at some point you schedule it and be like, look, the baby has to go down. Because it's only so much the wife could keep saying, oh, I got the baby. I got the baby. Or the husband saying, I've seen this. And what happens is I saw some of these couples start having feuds, like bumping heads. And I just thought, from observation, I was like, they keep putting this baby before everything. I could see that the dude sometimes want intimate time, and the wife will bring up the baby. As if you can't call nobody or schedule a time to say, you know what, babe, I see what you're saying. The baby's gonna be sleeping about another, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, me and you. Instead of just using the baby as a continual scapegoat. And because it's an infant, so if a man's looking at the little baby, he doesn't really want to say anything. He's just like, oh, okay. But internally, I'm telling you, he's going through it.
Yeah. Now, in that case, right, what I've observed a lot, because I'm married with no children, but I have friends who have children. What I've observed and what I've even had conversation about is, even in that moment, where the husband, right, wants to spend time with the mom who just birthed the baby. Sometimes the woman feels like it's still, even me coming away from the child, it's now time for me to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily time for me to relax and heal and be intimate without having to serve in some kind of way, but kind of be taken care of and be nurtured and kind of cared for in that manner when I'm away from the baby. Because when I'm with the baby, right, I'm nurturing 100%. But then let's say I put the baby down. What's next? Are you expecting to be served at that moment? Or is this time for mommy to be pampered and mommy to be nurtured and wifey to be cared for? So how does that work for you? Like, what is your perspective on that? Or have you even thought about it that way?
No, I've thought about this. Once again, I'm relating back to when I was married for 11 years. My wife and I, we had a daughter. She's 10 now. And during those stages, we had to come to, once again, it's that agreement part. I can't stress this agreement.
Right.
And the man has to be understanding as well. I'm not saying from like I'm not coming from a dictator standpoint, like put the baby down, 20 minutes, get with me. No, having an understanding, like, okay, I see the infant. I know she's not putting the baby before me because obviously the baby needs to eat or whatever she's doing. The baby needs nurturing. So and then my wife communicates with me, babe, give me about an hour and I'm gonna settle the baby down, and then I'll be able to sit with you or talk to you or whatever that thing is. And then I'm like, and I have an understanding, so I'm like, okay, babe. Right. And then in the midst of that understanding, I may cater to her and say, okay, is there anything that you need in the midst of me waiting for you to put the baby down? Do I need to help? Do I need to help you with the process?
That's the part that I think a lot of men are missing, though, because I know personally women hide behind caring for the baby so that they don't have to put forth this extra energy to serve husband right away, right, when they're still trying to heal. So I think the key in that component is being open and willing to finding out the needs of her so that she doesn't put the baby first as even an excuse.
Yeah. Or even, we talked about this on my last podcast, how important is the sex? And I'm just using the sex part as an example because that's sometimes what, guys and husband and wives and girls, and they want to, they want us to have that time together. And one of my friends who was on there, he mentioned the word scheduling.
Yeah.
Like scheduling that time, especially if it's a newborn baby, or even if it's a toddler, or even, they're going into being teenagers, because some people are very attached to their children where they will put their kids before everybody, even the husband, even the wife. Like, yo, this is crazy. You can't be doing this. But setting a schedule. Once again, come to an agreement. The wife and the husband, or the girlfriend and the boyfriend, sit down and they're like, hey, let's set a schedule. We know the baby needs this amount of attention, or the child needs this amount of attention. What do you think about this day? We have mom come through or dad come through or whoever you got. And even if it's not nobody coming through, we just got a schedule. So it creates less tension in our relationship where it's just if the man's just freestyling and waking up in the morning like, come on, babe. And she's like, now you know this is the time that I gotta go get the baby. And then he can feel some type of way because there was never no discussion.
Right. Now, let me ask you, if we're talking about a daughter that's more of the teenager age or, middle school age, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she notices that she's last on the list. How do you cultivate that situation?
Once again, yeah, me and my daughter, we had to have this conversation. And here's the thing, I had this conversation with my daughter early. She's 10 now. I know she's still young, but I had this when she was able to comprehend a little bit of what was going on. I said, Jira, look, this is mommy. And I said, when I'm dealing with mommy, it's mommy time. Daddy loves you. I'm not neglecting you. I'm not putting you down. But after I'm done with mommy, then you and I are going to play. Or here's the thing, me and my daughter had a schedule. I scheduled, hey, here's the schedule. Here's the time. You know what I mean? Here, daddy's going to be with you. Give me 30 minutes. This is this. And I just kept doing that all the time, though. It wasn't like one time we had that conversation. I kept having that conversation to assure her. So then when that occurred, it wasn't like she was like, in a mode of isolation, like, man, nobody doesn't care for me. Because she understood. I said, hey, we had to understand as a daddy and a daughter, like, yo, me and mommy about to chill, or we going to the park, we going for a walk. She's like, okay, y'all do y'all, you gonna be back? Yeah, I'm being back.
Yeah.
I think constantly reassuring that child versus just saying it one time and then just going off and expecting that child to have an understanding. Once again, they're a child. You got to continually reinforce and reiterate and give them understanding of what's going on. And some parents don't do that. They'll just say, you know what? They're going to get it.
This is what it is. Yeah.
This is what it is. That's not good.
To a child, right?
Yeah, you a child. I ain't got to tell you that. That's not healthy.
It's just communication, just basic communication, and even an opportunity to teach, because even if your child is young, this is something that she will carry into adulthood and understand. This is the structure of how family is supposed to be ran, so that when she then gets her own family, she doesn't have that feeling of, I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to expect, or who comes first, or should I feel a type of way, or whatever. But again, it's one of those things that we can use this model, we can use these details, but it's still going to come down to each person's lifestyle.
Yep. Each person's lifestyle.
Yeah, what everybody agrees on. But I will say I do agree with your order. And one thing that I kind of, I don't know if I read it or I've heard it before, it just kind of stuck with me. And it was pretty much along the lines of, your mom is chosen for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter is given to you, but your wife, you choose.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really profound to me, and it really justified or solidified putting wife first, because this is the woman you chose out of 7 billion people in the world. This is the person that you asked, can I put you in my life? Can we make a life together? So there are certain responsibilities that come along with marriage, that come along with making someone your wife. And I think that, giving her that position in your life as number one is important for those reasons. And she's the one who still nurtures and cultivates the relationship with mom and daughter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's raising daughter. So if she's loved correctly, she's now passing that love down to daughter. If she's loved correctly, then she's still cultivating and holding that relationship with mom as well. So for my situation, because I knew that I came first, that wasn't a reason for me to boast or a reason for me to have, some kind of ego about that situation. That was more so of an opportunity for me to make his mother feel like, you now have a daughter, right? She has 2 boys. So she's never had the luxury of having a daughter. She's never had the luxury of playing dress up or doing girl dates or things that moms and daughters do. So when I became part of the family, I gave her all of that because I'm loved correctly. So it wasn't an opportunity for her to feel like she's not, coming first, but it gave her an opportunity to feel like she's mom. So I will call her and do the things that, he couldn't do because he's a man, right? He doesn't have the desire to go get a pedicure every other week. He doesn't have the desire to go to the spa every other week or get our hair done and do those things that moms and daughters do. So in that way, it was beneficial for everyone. Because I feel like if the wife or the girlfriend or whoever knows their position and knows how to play, I think of everything like a sport. So she knows her position, just like, a point guard or however, then it's going to benefit the entire team, not just the wife. So that's why I agree with this setup, because being a wife and doing the research that I needed to understand how does anything that I do benefit the entire family, it made me a team player. So this situation doesn't just benefit me.
Yeah. You know what? And I want to say this, that the word order and position, I don't want people to think of it as like somebody's better than the next person.
Right.
Because sometimes we hear it and we think that way, like, what, my wife come before my mom? She better than my mom? No, it's not that she's better than your mom. It's prioritizing this thing.
It is, but it's like a team. You don't think
the wife's not better than the child. No, right. It's a prioritizing.
In a team, everybody's important, everybody's relevant, everybody's necessary, but everybody has a different role. So if we can't, I think sometimes we get caught up on the verbiage and we want to be so careful about, but that's what it is. You have roles. It's not about gender, man or female or woman, but it's about the fact that there's a certain position that you're playing, and those positions are agreed upon. If your position is moneymaker, if your position is, taking care of the house, it doesn't matter the gender. You still have a role and a position to fill. Just like any other job or anything else that's successful, there's some kind of order within it.
Yeah.
Anything that's successful has an order.
If anything, I know this agreement portion is so key that I remember I say this a lot still. The enemy, the devil, or the powers that be, whatever people want to describe it as, I say the devil, he's not after your marriage. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about your marriage. He doesn't care about your wedding. He's after the agreement. There's a chapter in my book called the mutual agreement, and he's after the agreement because he knows there's power in agreement. People know there's power in agreement. Even if we take it outside the spiritual realm, people know there's power in agreement. If two business owners come together and whoever it is, think about it, the way Blacks have been uniting. Some forces don't like that because they understand it's not about us coming. It's not even about us all just coming together to march. If we're coming together to march in an agreement, you got something dangerous on your hand. Yeah. When two people come together in agreement, when that husband and that wife and that girlfriend, that boyfriend come together and say, we agree on this thing right here. See, I say, if we don't agree on the main thing, then the relationship is bound to go south. Because there's some things we can agree on. I could agree, hey, I'm going to go to the gym in the morning, babe. You could agree you're going to go out with the girls to the mall. Those are common agreements. But the main thing that's holding this thing together, if we don't agree on that, then it's bound to fall apart.
So why do you think, or why do what is your perspective, I guess, on the fact that many couples, especially in the dating phase, don't have these conversations?
I'm about to hit it. I was doing this. This kind of keeps coming up on every one of them, and I believe it needs reiterating. And it's because some people. Well, here's the thing. Let me just say this: some people upbringing, they never had anybody in their life to even show them. So I wouldn't say everybody just automatically knows this or knows to have these conversations. Some people are fearful. Some people are scared to open up and say how they truly feel.
Right.
I remember
this was in they fear?
Huh?
What is it that they fear?
Maybe it may be fear of rejection. Mm-hmm. If I open myself up and be vulnerable and tell this person how I really feel, what's going to happen to me? We were talking about this on one of my podcasts. A lot of men feel that way because sometimes they opened up to people and what they opened up about got used against them. Mm-hmm. So now they get into another relationship and this woman's like, hey, so tell me this. And he wants to express his feelings, but now he's thinking, or maybe it's a woman, but I'm using a man right now. He wants to express his feelings. And he's like, I'm good. I'm okay, babe. I got it. And because he's like, man, if I open up, would this be used against me again? Mm-hmm. But let me say this. A lot of people like the idea of the relationship, but they don't like the responsibility that comes with the idea.
Right.
So therefore, in terms of that communication piece, they like the idea of this girlfriend or this boyfriend, this husband, this wife. But in order to take the responsibility, now I have to execute upon this idea. And part of me executing upon that idea may be me opening up and sharing my communication with this person. And everybody's at different levels. Like, let me say this. Me and my oh my no, never mind.
I had a guy friend. He's like, he knows what I'm doing with my business, and helping to cultivate wives, and helping wives to navigate the space of marriage, and bringing together that community. So he's like, yeah, I would love for some of the girls I date to be a part of your program.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. The reason I'm saying hold on, he's saying some of the girls he dates.
Yes, that's what I mean. I have the exact same reaction. I'm like, this is not that, and it was a lot of, him wanting to just put the girls through the process of learning about wifehood, and then them learning something, and then he reaps the benefit, right? And for me, I had to break down the process of, we don't make wives, right? That's not the objective in my community. It's for people who are already wives, women who are already wives, and navigating that space, or women who are engaged, who are getting ready to step into wifehood, who may have questions or just want that support. That maybe we don't get on the everyday, because marriage in our community, or our marriage period in this age, is not, it's coming back. It hasn't been, something we've seen successfully over the years. And so all that to say, he's like, well, how did you learn? How did you, get to this point, and how did you and your husband come to the terms of getting married so young? We got married at 25. And so to me, I'm like, we had that conversation the first 2 weeks we were speaking. Like he definitely let me know that he's looking for a wife, and I let him know that I was ready to be a wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this was honest conversation. So regardless if me saying I'm ready to be a wife scares him away, regardless of him saying I'm looking for a wife would scare me away, it is what it is. This is what we've been practicing for the last couple of years. This is what we've been preparing for the last couple of years. So when the conversation comes up, it's appropriate. It's appropriate to know my goal from the beginning. And I think that a lot of men, and sometimes women, don't necessarily have the end goal in mind when they're entering situations or relationships. And then it becomes this big mess, because we're going off of feeling, and we're going off of how many times or how many days can you make me feel good, versus I want this end result. I need to understand the process, or go through the process to get me there.
Yeah, because
that
most people
calls for people to be extremely honest, not only with themselves, but with the other person.
Most people don't have no purpose behind what. Now this is going to be a whole nother podcast.
Correct.
But I'm gonna close with saying this: most people, when they're going on dates or dating, there's no purpose behind it. Once again, it's just the idea. I like the idea of you, but when you execute that idea, then it comes with responsibility. And most of us, most of us don't like that. Here's the thing: everything can be culminated in this. I like the idea of you being my wife. I like the idea of you being my girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, whatever the case may be. But if I execute this idea, then it comes with this responsibility, this weight of, oh, do I put mom before wife now? Do I put the child before all of these things come with that. So, and to avoid that, I'd rather just keep you as an idea. And so, like I said, a lot of women are being strung along as ideas. A lot of men are being strung along as ideas. And when we go to have these conversations, intimate, in-depth conversations, people are like, hold on, this is too much. Because once again, they just like the idea of it. I like the idea of being with her. I like the idea of being with him. No, execute on that thing, man.
The responsibility will always show up. That is a guarantee.
Man.
Always show up. Whether you have a conversation or not, just going with those feelings is never a good idea. To just run and jump into something thinking that you can always evade the responsibility. It's always going to come up.
Yeah. I listen, I can say this, man. If I'm with somebody, you're not going to have me as an idea for You're not gonna have me as an idea for too long. I'm just gonna say that. I'm not gonna be your idea man. Like,
Right.
oh, I'm just an idea. No, we're gonna be executing, and these ideas have levels. And I don't want to get too much into that, but people do that. They just want to walk. We got a bunch of walking ideas just walking around.
So one last question. Whose
Okay, go ahead.
responsibility is it to have that conversation or to initiate these conversations, especially before things get entangled?
I would say the man, but I would actually, you know what? I mean, I would say the man because I'm a man, and I believe it's honorable. It's honorable.
Yes.
I want to use that word honorable for the man to initiate, whether they're sitting at the table having dinner or they're walking through the park, whatever they're doing during that engagement. And the man, you know, that honorable position to be like, you know, here's how I see you. I see you as my girlfriend. Like, what do you think about that? Like, you want to be my girlfriend?
Yeah.
You know, and then the woman's
it
like,
sets the tone, though. It sets the
yeah,
tone even for respect, right? Because in my mind, I can have an idea of what I want and I can be verbal about it. But if we start off our relationship like this, that's how I'm going to respect and regard you as the man. Because you only want to be the man when it benefits you in some kind of way. That's a problem for most women. So you guys have to understand when you're initiating these conversations, it shows leadership. It shows responsibility. It shows your ability to care and nurture and provide for this woman, even emotionally, because you're being responsible with whatever you're doing. So it sets the tone in a way that will benefit you, because how can we submit when we're in control?
Exactly.
But that's
exactly.
That's
Oh, how can we submit when we're in control? Let's. Oh. Anyway, CEO Mrs Matty, man, this is actually dope. I got a full. I got a lot more I want to say, but
we'll do part 2 soon.
No, we're gonna do part 2. We're gonna do part 2. But I really want to say to everybody that's watching and people that are listening, mutual agreement. And then there's a chapter in my book called Lease Agreement. If you haven't got the book, please get the book at jameldjackson.com. I'm telling you, it'll bless you. The mutual agreement is so important. A lot of things go off track only because of agreement. And we have assumptions in our head of what somebody is agreeing upon, and we never even talked about it.
Right. Expectations, all of that.
Expectations. I didn't even know you had that thought in your head. Assuming doesn't equal an agreement. And you got to be willing to compromise. And for a lot of women and a lot of men, compromising, you think you losing something. So it's like, no, I'm not giving up nothing. Once again, these are fundamental conversations that need to be had at the beginning, especially if you just met somebody and you're going on dates with them. Then it's like, okay, this is my partner. We're potentially thinking about long-term life together. Have these conversations. I'm having them out the gate. I'm talking about first day.
It will benefit you. It really will.
It will.
I do want to encourage people to really start before you even get into the relations. Okay, y'all know what I mean when I say relations. Please, it will deepen the connection. Honestly, it will. It makes everything better.
And you need to know what you want before you get in with anybody.
Yeah,
what do you want?
Yourself.
What do you? If I talk to somebody and they can't tell me what they want, then I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? If you just said, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with life.
Yeah, you should have. If that's how you feel, make sure you let the person that you're getting involved with know, hey, I don't know what I want. I just want to see where it goes. Now, that's also going to come with some responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to have all these feelings and all this mess that's shooting out of anywhere that you now have to grab hold of. So, everything comes. You might as well have that conversation up front.
Yeah, have it up front. I know me, man. I'm catering to my woman's heart. Every opportunity, every chance I get, first question is every single day, how's your mind, body, soul, how your spirit, I want to know every piece, how's it on, what's the level it's on, and I'm not trying to be Mr. Fix It either. If I'm not trying to ask you that to fix it, I just want to know if I can fix it, if you want me to, whatever the case may be. Look, cater to her soul, fellas. Cater to her soul.
That's a topic. That's a topic.
Yeah.